love it, love it, love it, love it. Hey guys, what's up? You're listening to the Lastlight podcast, and you're probably wondering where DJ is. And in case you are, well, DJ had a tornado to kind of touch down in their neck of the woods, so he was out trying to help some people clean up in his subdivision. So that's what he's doing. My wife and I and our family, we actually had a tornado to touch down on our house. Luckily, it didn't get quite low enough to the ground, but it did do quite a bit of damage to us and our neighbors' homes. So, man, what a March it's been. I've had 4 deaths between my family members and some friends of the family. Just all in the last few weeks. We had the tornado issue, crazy weather, wet weather that caused some problems. And I had a root canal a couple of days ago. So my goodness, man, it's been one of those months, where just so many things have hit all at once. But it all that does, it lets us know who's in control. God's in control, and we are not. And so with that being said, I spoke to DJ earlier today. I thought, man, hey, I know we need to get a podcast out there, maybe a video cast, so I figure I might tackle a few things that I've had. Well, I've had a lot of people ask me about what I eat in a day, and I thought, man, hey, I can cover that by myself. So that is what I'm going to do today, guys. In case you don't know, I have a vast background in nutrition. I owned a fitness center for a good while called Chadwick's down just south of Nashville, and I competed in bodybuilding for about 23, 24 years, I guess it was, maybe 25 years. I used to travel with a few country artists on the road and different pop artists trying to get them ready for, trying to help them to get ready for video shoots, to drop weight, you name it. And I also used to travel around doing different speaking engagements, trying to help people lose body fat, just to help people lose body fat. And I would do seminars on weight loss and what have you, and all that good stuff. So with that being said, so I've got some notes right here to my left, and I want to kind of explain what it is I eat in a day and why. And before I get into that, I want to explain a few things. One, when you look at what you're going to be eating in a day, you've got to think of food as like building material for the body, or what's needed to I always equate it to building a house. So if you're going to be building a house, what do you got to have? You got to have building material, okay? Building material for your house is like your lumber, you name it, bricks, whatever it might be. But for the body, that's going to be your protein. That is your building material. You got to have the protein in order to build quality muscle and for other metabolic processes within the body. You've also got to have your carbohydrates. Now, carbohydrates, like when you equate that to, let's say, something like when it comes to a house, well, for a house, that's your energy. Whether it comes from a power pole, a power plant, generator, you name it, you got to have your energy. So that's going to be carbohydrates for the body. So you got to have the carbohydrates, especially for your central nervous system to run efficiently. And a lot of people try to do these crazy low carb diets, so which can be effective, but I will say your body does need carbohydrates to run efficiently. Now, you also got to have your fat. Where does fat come in? Well, when it comes to your home, your fat is going to be things like your insulation. You got to have that good R value insulation to keep your house cool in the summertime and to keep it warm in the wintertime. So the same thing applies to your body. You got to make sure you have that good quality essential fat to help your body run efficiently. Not the bad stuff, but the good stuff. So with that being said, there again, I've got my notes here kind of to my left, and I'll kind of explain what I do as far as how I set my plan up and why. First of all, I want to talk about how many calories I take in. I personally take in somewhere around 2,400 calories in a day. It might be 2,500 calories some days, 2,600 calories some days, or it might be around 23, 22, just depending. But on a normal day, on the average, I take in 2,400 calories a day. How do I come up with the amount of calories that I take in? Well, to do that, typically I look at my body weight, and I'll multiply my body weight times 12, times 13, times 11, somewhere in that number, and that's where I come up with the amount of calories that I need. Now, some of you guys may be thinking, man, I'm 350 pounds. Surely he does not want me eating that much. Yeah, I do. So with most individuals, let's say they've got a lot of body fat to lose. Well, I would say at a bare minimum, take your body weight times 10, and that is where you want to be in the amount of calories you need in one day. It could be 4,000 calories, believe it or not. If you weigh 500 pounds, it could be 5,000 calories in a day, which I know is a challenge trying to eat that much. But you gotta have a starting point. There's one thing you don't want to do. You don't want to hop on a diet plan and be like, man, I got to keep my calories low. And the next thing you know, you're trying to eat 120 calorie bars a day, and by the end of the day, you've only had 480 calories. You're going to drop a lot of weight. You'll drop it really fast. But what's going to happen is you're going to quit dropping weight. I promise you it will happen every single time, and you want to avoid that. So I don't want to see you guys kill it for 4 months. Man, you're pumped, you're happy, you're dropping weight, and all of a sudden you can't drop it, and you have nowhere else to go because you can't go any lower. Because I see it all the time where people, they get stuck, they end up trying to drop calories, which they can't, because otherwise they're totally miserable to not only themselves but to people around them. Then they start doubling up on cardio. They try to work out longer, and it's a vicious cycle. But the body, what's happening is your body saying, listen, I can't get rid of anything else. I got to survive. You're not giving me enough to survive on. So what does it do? It starts trying to break down muscle tissue. That's what's using energy, because it says, I got to get rid of the stuff that's using energy, and I got to conserve energy. So at that point in time, it starts trying to store more body fat because it needs stored energy. And you don't want to be in that cycle. So I promise you guys, it may sound like a lot of calories that you're going to be needing to take in, but at least take your body weight. If you need to lose a lot of weight, do not go less than 10 calories per pound of body weight. So for me, again, I'm going to be taking in about 2,400 calories a day. Now, one thing I do when I'm looking at my sheet here, I'm a big, humongous proponent of nutrient timing. What do I mean by nutrient timing? I like to time my nutrients based on my activity level. And the majority of that I'm talking about is going to be carbohydrates. We all know some people say they're good, some say they're bad. It depends on your body type and how your body might process those. If you're endomorphic, you have a really hard time with dropping weight. Most likely your body's going to be very, very sensitive to carbohydrates. You still need them, but you don't need as many of them. And you're going to want to time them into your plan based on when you're going to be the most active, and you'll want to keep them low when you're not that active. So for me in the morning time, I get up, typically, I have my normal 9 to 5 job, plus I also have Bow Addicts that I run, and I usually work out in the evening time. So with that being said, in the morning, I'm going to be starting off, here's how I do it. I take my calories, and I'm going to be dividing my calories by 5. Normally I divide it by 6, but for you guys, I know a lot of you guys can't have 6 meals a day, but I divided it by 5, and there's a little tweak I make in the middle too. So if I divide 2,400 calories by 5, it comes out to 480 calories per meal. All right, that's my target number. You got to have a target number per meal, okay? And I can make this a little bit more complicated because there's some changes I could make that I often make if I were to compete or get ready for something, but I'm not going to go there. I want to keep it simple for you guys. So with that being said, meal number 1, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take 480 calories. Let's see, I'm going to be taking in 30% carbohydrates that meal, 40% protein, and 30% fat in meal 1. When I do the numbers, just so you know, there are 4 calories in every gram of carbohydrates. There are 4 calories in every gram of protein. There are 9 calories in every 1 gram of fat. So in this one, right here, I said 480 calories times 30%, which came out to 144. That's 144 calories. I take 144, since it's carbohydrates, and there is 4 calories per 1 gram of carbohydrates. I took 144 and divided it by 4, which came out to 36. So that means I need 36 grams of carbohydrate that meal. I want to take in 40 grams of protein. So I took the 480 times 40, which came out to 192. That's 192 calories divided by 4. Since there are 4 calories in each gram of protein, that came out to 48 grams of protein. So right now I need 36 grams of carbohydrates, 48 grams of protein, and I got to have my fat too. So I'm taking in 30% fat that meal. So I took, there again, 30% of 480 is 144 calories. 144 divided by 9, because remember, there are 9 calories per every gram of fat, which came out to 16 grams of fat. So for that meal, I know this sounds complicated, but it's really not. That meal, my numbers that I'm shooting for, I'm going to be looking for 36 grams of good quality carbohydrates. Most of the time for me, it's oatmeal. I'm going to be looking for 48 grams of protein. And I'm going to be looking for 16 grams of fat. And now think, for instance, I mentioned oatmeal. Now, when you have oatmeal, when you look at that, now I don't count fiber. I always subtract that number out. But if I'm looking at protein, I know that one serving of oats usually has, I think, around 5 grams of protein. So you got to look at that number. If I'm having egg whites, I know each egg white only has 3 grams of protein. So even if I had 6 egg whites, that's only 18 grams of protein there. So I'd have to be finding some protein from additional sources. So for me, a lot of times what I do, I might do 2 whole eggs, and each whole egg has 7.5 grams of fat. There's already, let's say, or 7 grams of fat, let's say, so there's already 14 grams of fat. I'm getting fats in my oats. That gets me to about my 16 grams of fat there. I'll have my the protein in the oats for me, which is going to be about 7.5 grams. 7.5 grams of protein. Then I'm going to have my omelet, which is going to give me, let's see here, I've got this 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 26. I'm going to have about 26 grams of protein, or 27 there, between my oats and my omelet. And so where do I get the rest of my protein? So what I do, I like having coffee, and I'll have a cold coffee, but where I take coffee and ice, and I take some protein powder, whey isolate protein powder, that's basically fat-free and very low in carbs. It might have 1 or 2 grams of carbohydrates, and I'll put that in my coffee, and just a little bit of low sugar, sugar-free creamer, and with a touch of almond milk, and that usually gets me about pretty much where I need to be calorie wise. I'm usually somewhere between 470 to 490 calories, which is pretty doggone close to where I need to be. But as you see, I knew my numbers of protein, carbohydrates, and fat, and I made it work for me. And that's the key to you guys. You got to figure out what you like. Don't do anything crazy. Don't have a meal that you don't like. I mentioned, for instance, so there again, a lot of times if I'm on the go, I might take my almond milk. Let's say I do 10 ounces of low sugar almond milk. I do a scoop and a half of protein. If I know I need my fat in that meal too. If I'm not having the 2 whole eggs, then I might add in some coconut oil or some almond butter, you name it. Usually, if it's going to, typically what I do, I put coffee. I take ice, coffee, my protein powder, my almond milk, low sugar almond milk, and I add a little bit of fat into that too. And it could be even olive oil, because I really can't taste it when I have it, or canola oil, which really has no taste. But each tablespoon of oil has 14 grams of fat. So it might be 1 tablespoon of oil, my coffee, my ice, my almond milk, or and whatever else it is to get me to where I need to be. And but I might have that if I'm on the go. So that's meal 1. Meal 2, again, I'm shooting for 480 calories. Now meal 2, I'm a little bit more sedentary. So what am I going to do? I don't need as many carbohydrates. So for this meal, I'm going to be taking in about 10 grams of carbohydrates, 40 grams of protein, and 10% carbohydrates, 40% protein, and 50% fat. Based on the numbers, that's going to equate to about 12 grams of carbohydrates. Is going to equate to about 48 grams of protein and 27 grams of fat. Yep, you heard that right, 27 grams of fat. So in that meal, it's going to be a high fat. I'm going to be looking for avocados. 1 whole avocado has about 30 grams of fat. Half an avocado obviously has about 15 grams of fat. 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Olive oil is 14 grams of fat. So but I'm looking for healthy fat. It's going to be a higher fat meal. There again, around 27 grams of fat. My protein is going to be around 48 grams of protein. I know your body can't utilize that much protein, but you have the bioavailability of certain proteins to where you might take in 50 grams, but your body is only going to utilize a certain percentage of that. So, but I'm going to be shooting for about 48 grams of protein and about 12 grams of carbohydrates. So I'll just find a meal that works for me to get me to that number. And again, for that meal, if I had a good quality breakfast? Well, that could be, again, it could be one of those coffee shakes that I make, or just a protein shake that maybe you have a couple of tablespoons of peanut butter. Now, if you do that, guys, don't go out here and grab a tablespoon of peanut butter and just scoop it out. No, measure it off. You got to make sure that you're consistent on this, or otherwise you think you're putting a tablespoon in and you're putting 3. Don't. I see a lot of smoothie makers out there that if you go to, I won't say the name, not Smoothie Queen, but something else, they'll put triple the amount of protein, the amount of peanut butter that they need to put in there, and the next thing you know, you got a drink that you're trying to drink to lose weight that's got 4 times the amount of fat that you need, because they put way too much fat in it. So, but that meal number 2, they're again higher in fat, lower in carbs, protein is consistent. Meal number 3 for me will be midday. Typically, if I'm going to work out in the afternoon time, this meal is going to be a little more, it's going to have a few more carbohydrates, because I know within 2 or 3 hours I'll be working out, typically within 2. So this meal for me is going to be 40% carbohydrates, 40% protein, and 20% fat. With that being said, based on my math, and again, this is based on 480 calories, I'll be taking in 48 grams of carbohydrates, 48 grams of protein again, and 11 grams of fat. For me, that might be, let's say, somewhere around 6 ounces of rice. It might be 7 or 8 ounces of a sweet potato with 6 ounces of a grilled chicken breast. And then for the 11 grams of fat, I know the chicken has 2 or 3 grams of fat in that, so I might need another 8 or 9 grams of fat, and that could be in the form of an avocado, 3/4 or a quarter of an avocado. It could be half a tablespoon of olive oil put on the top of that. You name it. If I'm having some broccoli with that, then I'll put, let's say, a half a tablespoon, which is roughly around, it should be 7 calories, 7 grams of fat from oil from that. But again, these are puzzle pieces. It's that simple. I've got my puzzle pieces I need, and I'm gonna make it work. This is all a challenge at first, but you're gonna get the hang of it. You're gonna find out that you're a creature of habit, and you're gonna eat the same type of foods over and over and over. But you can have different things that you have, but you're gonna find out overall, man, I've got these 10, 12, or 13 different meals that I like to have. They all fit my parameters that I need, and you're gonna stick with those. So that's meal number 3. Now, let's say I go and work out. One thing, believe it or not, I know this sounds crazy, but anyone I've ever trained that has done phenomenal at weight loss, I typically have them do a Intra workout drink. Now, for the most part, you're going to have about 50% protein and 50% carbohydrates in that drink. One of my favorite things is something like a Powerade or Gatorade. I usually shoot for around 25 grams of carbohydrates and 25 grams of protein. Typically, I do like an orange Gatorade. I would take and put my 20. Well, typically it might it might be 1 scoop of whey isolate protein. Whey isolate is broken down really quickly by the body, and the way I do that, I shake it up. I like the orange with vanilla. It's like a orange creamsicle type of a drink. And so when I start working out, a quarter through my workout, I've got a quarter of that drink finished. Halfway through, I've got another half of it drink all the way till I finish it up at the end of my workout. And you may be like, man, Chad, but I want to drop weight. I'm not going to be taking in the Gatorade. I don't want to take in all that sugar. I can't really explain all the science behind it right now, but I can tell you have all these receptor sites on the body, and if by doing that you're actually triggering the body to release fat when you're training, and to utilize carbohydrates for that immediate energy source, but it's going to encourage the body to remove body fat, and what we're talking about this real quick. I'm going to go into a tangent, but when you're burning fat, you got to remember you have an oxidation zone, and you got a fat burning zone, or fat mobilization zone, as I call it. So if I'm training, typically when your body's burning fat, your heart rate is usually it's going to be somewhere around 125 or below, and if you're to mobilize fat. Not to burn it, but to mobilize it, to get it pulled out of the body, in order to have your body release that body fat into the bloodstream, you're going to want that heart rate higher. So you always hear about HIIT training, which is high intensity training. So when you're looking at it, think of it this way. When I train, the way I like to train my body, if I'm trying to lose fat, I want to release the fat. Then I want to burn the fat that I just released. And in order to do that, I'm going to try to get my heart rate real high so that my body is releasing fat. It could be through the workout itself. I mean, even just from weight training, because the way I train with weights now is a lot different than what it used to be. So I'll go in there, I hit it hard, hit it quick. I try to get that heart rate really high, and then let's say I do my cardio after my workout. Well, if I know that I've had my heart rate somewhere between 140 and 160, 165 or so throughout my workout, I've released a lot of body fat, but I haven't necessarily burned it. So when I would do my cardio, I'm going to actually my target cardio fat burning zone is going to be somewhere between 118 and 123 beats per minute. Now that's for me. So that way my body is going to take the fat it's released and burn it. So I see a lot of people doing cardio, man, they're rocking and rolling on that treadmill, they're running hard, and what they're releasing a lot of body fat, but they're not burning it. So that's the key. You want to burn that fat. So if you ever do any type of high intensity training, the key, you don't want to run hard for a minute, go easy for a minute, run hard for a minute, go easy for a minute, because let's say you run hard for a minute and you get your heart rate to 170 beats per minute. I mean, it's way up there. Well, it may take it may take you 3 minutes to get back down to 120 beats per minute. So what I do, if I do a high intensity type of cardio, I'll run hard 30 seconds to a minute, get that heart rate really high, and then I won't start getting it high again until I've been in my oxidative fat burning zone, let's say 120 beats per minute for at least 2 minutes or so. Then I'm going to crank it back high, run really hard again, or it might be on the bicycle where I'm just busting it out. So what I'm doing, I'm causing my body to release body fat. Then I'm allowing my body to oxidate or burn that body fat that it just released. So I know that's a whole another area we could get into. So there is a smart and a unsmart way of doing high intensity training. So, but just so you know, there's just different ways of doing that. So, man, I just went into a crazy tangent, guys. So with that being said, during my training, I like having my protein drink and my carbohydrate drink that will actually encourage my body to burn fat. Now, finally, let's see here. This one's going long here. So my meal 4 for me, I know I got to shuttle in some carbohydrates because I want my body to repair correctly. I want it to take all that protein. I want to have my protein to be able to be channeled into the muscle tissue. So with that being said, I'm going to be taking in 480 calories this meal. 50% of that meal is going to be from carbohydrates. 40% of that meal is going to be from protein. 10% of that meal is going to be from fat. That all equates to 60 grams of carbs, 48 grams of protein, and 5 grams of fat. So basically I'm taking in a high carb, moderate protein, low fat meal post workout. Now, my last meal today. So I mentioned I take in an Intra protein drink. That drink at 25 grams of carbs and 25 grams of protein equates to about 200 calories. So my last meal for me, instead of taking in 400 calories that meal, I'm going to take in, or instead of taking in 480 calories a meal. That meal, I'm going to take in 280 calories a meal because I'm going to pull 200 calories off because I had that extra 200 calories when I trained. My last meal, I don't take in a lot of carbohydrates. I'm going to be taking in 10% carbohydrates, 30% protein, and 60% fat that meal. That equates to 7 grams of carbohydrates, 21 grams of protein, and 19 grams of fat. You heard it right, 19 grams of fat. It's a good amount of fat. So my last meal each evening is pretty high in fat. The protein is around 21 grams, and there again, my carbohydrates are around 7 grams, which usually for me is going to be from vegetables, salsa on top of an omelet or something like that. And so that all equates to about 2,400 calories in a day. I know that's a lot of information, guys, but that is what I eat in a day typically. It is not rocket science. It sounds crazy hard, but I promise you, the more you do it, the easier it can get. But the key is don't go too low on your calories. Give your body what it needs. Let it become a well-oiled machine. And as you drop weight, that number will keep dropping. The amount of calories you take in will keep dropping. Because if you weigh 400 pounds, you get down to 350 pounds. do that equation again. As you see, you'll probably need 500 calories less or so each day. You get down to 300 pounds, then you need 500 calories less again. So you'll get to the point to where you may start at 400 pounds, you may get down to 200 pounds. Well, you're going to need a lot less calories at 200 pounds than what you needed at 400 pounds. So I hope that helps out, guys. I know it's a lot of information. I'm looking at my screen right now, and we're pretty much right at an hour, which is crazy. But that being said, that is what I eat in a day and kind of what I eat in a day. I hope that does help you guys out. Thank you again for listening to the Lastlight podcast, if I can get it out correctly. This is a kind of a different one, but again, I appreciate all you guys do. Remember, God loves you. I love you. DJ loves you. We all love you. Keep it up, guys, and thank you for thank you for everything you do. Be sure to hit like, hit subscribe, all that good stuff. And until the next time, see ya.
I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it.